All right, let's talk about Photoshop. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on some of the unwritten rules that the pros live by. These aren't just random tips. They're the foundational habits that are going to save you from a ton of frustrating problems and help you get those professional results every single time. So let's just dive right in.
And this quote right here really gets to the heart of why we're doing this. I mean, so much of this is hard-won knowledge from years of experience, and the whole point is to help you skip over those common mistakes and all the frustrations that trip up so many Photoshop users when they're starting out.
So, this is the big question, right? The one that really separates the pros from everybody else. And here's the secret. It's not about memorizing every single tool. It's about mastering a workflow. It's a whole set of habits that guarantee quality and, maybe more importantly, flexibility. And we're about to break them all down, one by one. Okay, first up, let's talk about your foundational setup. And I call these invisible traps for a reason. These are the choices you make before you even really start editing that can either set you up for success or for a world of pain down the line.
We've all been there. You create what you think is a really smooth, subtle gradient in the sky, maybe, but when you look closely, you see these ugly, distinct lines of color. And what's worse is as you add more adjustments, like a curves layer, the problem just gets more and more obvious.
So what's the fix? Well, it's actually surprisingly simple. The culprit is almost always your color depth. See, when you work in the default 8-bit mode, you're giving Photoshop a pretty limited palette. So as you start making adjustments, it literally runs out of distinct color steps, and that creates those visible bands. But if you switch to 16-bit, you're giving Photoshop millions more colors to play with. The result? Perfectly smooth transitions, no matter how much editing you do.
Oh man, here's another classic trap. You spend hours maybe getting the colors just perfect. You export the image, you upload it to Instagram or your website, and poof, the colors look completely different. They're dull, they're shifted. It's one of the most frustrating things that can happen for sure.
And the reason this happens is something called color space. Your camera and Photoshop, they might be working in a really wide space like ProPhoto RGB, which has tons of colors. But web browsers, they pretty much only speak one language, and that language is sRGB. So if you don't convert your image into that language, the browser just has to guess. And, well, it usually guesses wrong. Luckily, the solution is built right into your export process. You just have to remember to use Export As, and look for these two absolutely crucial checkboxes. Convert to sRG translates your image into that universal language of the web, and then Embed Color Profile packs the instructions with the file, telling every browser exactly how to display those colors. Check both of those, and believe me, your color headaches are over.
All right, now that we've got our foundation set, let's talk about what I think is the single most important principle for any pro: working non-destructively. This isn't just a technique, it's a whole mindset, and it's the key to total creative freedom. And this really shows the difference perfectly. Destructive editing is kind of like painting directly on a photograph. Once you do it, that change is permanent. But non-destructive editing, that's like placing a transparent sheet over the photo and painting on that. You can change it, you can adjust it, you can remove your edits anytime you want without ever harming that original image underneath. And the main tool we use for this is the Smart Object. The best way to think of it is like a protective, flexible container for your layer. Any filters or transformations you apply affect the container, not the actual image inside. What does that mean? It means you can always double-click and go back and tweak the filter settings, or you can change the size without losing any quality.
So when should you be using them? The simple answer is pretty much always. But especially when you're opening a RAW file from Camera Raw, just hold down the Shift key when you click open and it'll open as a Smart Object. And definitely anytime you plan to apply a filter or think you might need to resize a layer later on. This one habit will save you countless hours. And here's a great tip to make this a seamless part of your workflow. Go into your keyboard shortcut settings and assign a simple combo to convert to Smart Object. Seriously, the less friction there is, the more likely you are to build this essential professional habit until it's just pure muscle memory. And this non-destructive mindset, it applies to masking too. Here's a really common mistake. People will stack the same mask on multiple adjustment layers to edit one object, like a person's shirt. But this often creates these weird, bright halos around the edges. The pro move? Put all those adjustment layers into a group, and then apply one single clean mask to the group itself. It's way cleaner and gives you a much better result. Finally, let's cover the habits that really act as your insurance policy. These are the rules that are going to protect your work from disaster and make your whole process faster and way more efficient. First off, saving. Please do not trust autosave alone. You have to build the muscle memory to hit Command or Control plus S constantly, like all the time.
Then, go into your preferences and set the auto-save recovery to its most frequent setting, which is every 5 minutes. And for really critical client work, consider saving it as a cloud document. That gives you automatic saving and version history.
Okay, this one is a huge time saver. When you copy something and you want to paste it into another document that's the exact same size, don't just use Ctrl+V. Use Ctrl+Shift+V. This is paste in place, and it puts the object in the exact same coordinates. This is perfect for keeping things consistent across multiple files.
And this is a golden rule for any working professional. Beta software is by its very definition unstable. Don't risk your client work, your deadlines, or your sanity by installing it on the computer you rely on to get paid. If you have to test it, keep a separate machine for it, but always protect your primary workstation.
So, wow, we've covered a lot of ground, huh? From some deep technical setups to the core philosophies of how pros work. Let's just bring it all together and see what our new foundation for working like a pro really looks like.
It really just boils down to these 3 pillars. First, get your technical setup right, work in 16-bit color, and always export to sRGB to prevent quality issues. Second, adopt the non-destructive mindset with smart objects to avoid making permanent mistakes. And third, practice good safety habits, like saving constantly to protect yourself from disaster and wasted time.
Because ultimately, these rules, they aren't about limiting you. They're about liberating you. By building this solid professional foundation, you get to eliminate all the technical worries and free up your energy to focus on what actually matters, your creativity. So the only question left is, which one of these rules are you going to start with today?